Plastic crack is a thing.
I totally am in on the plastic crack.
As a collector, I see plastic crack as what I have here. It's an addiction. Every time I get online, I see someone's collection. I'm like, oh, I don't have that. I gotta have that.
I am a functioning crack addict.
I think plastic crack is a perfect description, because once you get addicted, you gotta have your next fix. Where's the next big thing?
You know what? There is no misdiagnosing plastic crack.
I agree. I mean, it is plastic crack. Once you get that one piece, you're hooked. I mean, and there's no stopping it. It's kind of like you need an intervention.
I mean, I guess I kind of resonate with the plastic crack analogy. Yeah, for sure.
I'm just a user. I'm a heavy user, I guess.
Okay, if you're gonna do the same analogy with the drug addicts, the best drug addicts are the drug dealers, because they're selling their drugs to buy more drugs. And that is exactly what we're doing.
Hey guys, my name is Robert Barbieri. I kind of like a moderate collector, and I'm going to take you through a quick tour of my house, which basically every room has a little bit of something that you'll like to see, and let's check it out. So this is like the sitting room originally, but it turned into something else. You got Toxic Crusaders. It's a mixture between 80s and 90s toys, which is what I grew up with. Then you got the more common popular lines like Superpowers, Terminator. You got some Beetlejuice. You got some awesome Batman. Michael Keaton is like one of my favorite Batmans of all time. And then in here you got the dining room. And it's a little bit of everything. You got RoboCop, Back to the Future, Thundercats, Police Academy. You got Mask by Kenner, and then you got Robin Hood. And then we come into the bedroom, which is a little bit of a mess, but you got some more 90s toys like Independence Day. You got some Small Soldiers, Battle Trolls, some He-Man, and one of my personal favorites is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And you got some Pee-wee's Playhouse, because why not? And then we move on into past the kitchen, where things really open up. And we got some Ninja Turtles. You got some Migos, some Beast Wars, Transformers. And another fan favorite of mine is Star Wars, because who doesn't like Star Wars? So, I mean, vintage for me is all the way. When it comes to Star Wars, vintage and original trilogy all the way. But that's just me. And then we move on into the last bit, which is really like the trophy of my collection, which is real Ghostbusters. And you can see for yourself, it's pretty extensive. So I hope you like the tour, and thanks for stopping by.
An adult toy collector is someone who probably had a really fine childhood growing up.
It's the nostalgia of like, it's this recreation of your youth and having the toys you had as a kid, usually what gets people into it.
When you're a kid and you see something and you get influenced by something, and then you grow up to be an adult, you see that same toy.
It's very common for people to collect toys that they had as a kid that they grew up with.
At the age of 5, I used to sell snow cones in Spanish Harlem, then shiny shoes and all this. And then here I am, where there's a figurine of me, and they made 3 versions of the Ponch character.
Maybe they got a straight A's on their report card, and so in the summer, mom or dad took them to a retailer and bought them a big boxed toy.
I can't see it being detrimental, unless you collect dolls and you stick knife forks in them. That's not positive.
I think for the average person who can't really connect with toy collecting, it's just imagine that it's like things you would see in a museum, but it's just another area, which is toys. Like, with Star Wars, the action figure line was the rage. Typically what adults now that collect have gotten back into are the toys they had as a kid.
And Star Wars literally conquered the world.
There's so much of the world that was into Star Wars, where Star Wars was mainstream. Like, pretty much all of Europe, all of Latin America, all of East Asia, and Australia, Star Wars was huge.
We're not talking about the movies only. We're talking about toys. If you think those movies made millions, these little guys, they made way much more.
To put it in perspective, the movies earned over $7 billion at the box office, but this little piece of plastic, over twice that amount.
It was unbelievable. It was a monster. Super Joe, which was the last incarnation of Joe, went away, was because all of a sudden Star Wars redefined what an action figure was.
So no toy company but Kenner bid on the Star Wars line. By the time of the second film, The Empire Strikes Back, the whole world was expecting these toys with anxiety. And the moment they hit the market, it roared the whole thing.
They changed the way you marketed action figures.
They also changed the scale. Remember, back then there were 12-inch dolls. Now these guys were called action figures.
3 3/4 inch, and then vehicles that you could buy and put figures in.
It was for sure a worldwide phenomenon never seen before.
I think that they've been successful with, it's such a sort of basic hero story, but has a richness of characters and appeal to people on many different levels.
Our work on G.I. Joe started in 1980, and it took us that long, almost 2 years, to get it into the marketplace, because every time we bring it up at a line review with our senior management team, it was rejected. Too soon, too soon. Kenner's in the marketplace with Star Wars. How are we going to compete with Star Wars?
The huge pop culture things like Disney or Star Wars or the Beatles or things like that, hundreds of years from now will be collected because they were just such a phenomenal cultural impact at the time that I think they will last. And then I think some other pop culture things sort of die off with the generation that grew up with it. And that's a cycle that we've seen.
And so right from the very beginning, we started to learn what Kenner was doing. And we saw one of their fatal flaws.
Movies were different back then. If it hit a movie theater, there wasn't a way of watching it over and over at home. The VHS tape didn't come out for, maybe 6 years later. So you didn't really have the movies to fuel your passion. The toys fueled your passion.
It was my job to defeat the enemy being Kenner, Mattel, Mego, Playmates, any other toy company. I spent the next 4 years on and off working with a mentor and a friend and a boss, Bob Prupus, who encouraged me and said, we're going to figure out a way to bring back G.I. Joe. It was the Winter Olympics, 1980. Bob was up in Boston visiting friends, and they were televising that hockey game, the U.S.-Soviet Union hockey game, because we had never beaten the Russians before in hockey. And here was a group of college kids playing the Soviet Army, who were the hockey players for the Soviet Union. And when the U.S. beat the Soviet Union, the entire restaurant erupted into USA, USA, chants of USA, USA.
Well, all of a sudden, there was a small band there that was playing. The band turned into patriotic music, and the manager handed flags to everybody. Everybody started dancing around, and I turned to my wife and said, hey, look, there's a tremendous demand for being pride in the American, and pride in the American. I said, G.I. Joe has to be military. So I said, I'm going to call Joe in the morning, Monday, and talk to him about what happened here.
Bob came in on Monday morning, and he called me into his office, and he said, I just had an incredible experience yesterday. And he said, we have got to convince Hasbro it's time to bring back G.I. Joe. And that's when he basically opened the floodgates and said, I want to see models. Ron Rudat is the premier action figure designer at Hasbro. He would illustrate toy ideas to make them look more appealing at presentations. And so for the first, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, Ron designed every G.I. Joe figure.
Bob Prufus had the idea in his head to come back with G.I. Joe from the 12-inch figures, but we were going to do it in a different size.
Well, we wanted to figure out a way of how do we get kids to constantly keep playing with G.I. Joe.
And because Star Wars was having so much success with their figures at Kenner, we decided to make the figures smaller.
We discovered in the marketplace a line of action figures from Mego. We used Chips figures. All had incredible articulation. So what we did is we bought those. We said, this is the size we want to do. It's 3 3/4 inch. We're going to go right up against Star Wars, but we're going to do it better. All we did was take green kids' clay.
We threw all kinds of weapons from other things onto these figures, painted them up.
But the figures all moved and posed and looked like real Army figures.
They had 3 versions of Poncherello. They had a little guy like this, then another guy like this, and then another guy that looked like the Hulk because of the color. I mean, they never got that right.
So yeah, the 82 Stalker is probably Eric Estrada in disguise.
Stephen Havenfeld was really impressed by what we all had done. He decided to give it a go.
And so we would do things to make sure G.I. Joe stayed on top. And we stayed on top for 14 years.
Christmas morning, 1989, I received the Ice Saber. I was very ecstatic to receive any G.I. Joes in general because my family didn't have a lot of money. So anything that I received was awesome to me as a kid.
You see it in the collectors today who buy their G.I. Joe figures, remember what they played with as a kid. I've seen collections where people buy 30 and 40 of the same figure to Army build particular kinds of figures.
Mami, me ayudan. Yo lo entro todo. My mom, oh my God, my mom has been with me since collecting. In the 70s when I was 9, 10, she started buying me Migos, and that was awesome. And then of course the little plastic soldiers. Everything that I could afford to get, I got. It wasn't like, no, I have to know. It's just if I liked it, I had the money, I would buy it. And back then in the 70s and the 80s, nobody collected toys. Nobody. Everybody thought back in the late 80s and 90s, I was crazy. They thought I had popped the cork because I didn't buy one. I would buy cases and cases and cases. Toys R Us, Playworld, they used to call me up. Hey, we're putting this on clearance. How many do you want? All. My wife, she was cool. She would, she goes, oh my God, relax. Where do you want to go? You want to go visit your mom for a month? Here you go. Go. That's what I would do. She would be with her mom, family, have my son over there and things like that. And I would be able to do what I want to do in my house the way I want. I tore everything in the inside, the walls and everything out, and all of a sudden I rebuilt everything to my specs of my collectibles. When Clone Wars came out, I spent over $10,000 buying figures. I spent over 10 G's. Every clone that you could think of that was out there, very few people were able to find them because I hoarded the living shit out of them. I wanted a whole army. I wanted the biggest army in the world at that time.
In 2004, I lived in North Fort Myers. Hurricane Charlie was predicted to hit Tampa. I was not thinking anything of it. At the time, I had a collection of mostly just U.S. G.I. Joes where I was living, and I had a huge video game collection. Listening to the radio, expecting the hurricane to head north of us. Last minute, they say the hurricane's going to hit Cape Coral and then Punta Gorda area in North Fort Myers. Initially, we lose power. We didn't think, I was like, starting to rain, winds are getting heavy. I didn't think anything of it. They've been through previous storms as well in Florida, so I didn't think it was gonna affect us. Well, it flooded really bad in our area. We had air conditioning units on the roofs of the apartment, and the air conditioning unit actually came inside the home. So I had one in my living room, and it took out my entire video game display, and then another one hit another bedroom. All my G.I. Joes that were in front of the bed were all, just obliterated. So I lost a lot of stuff at that point. I had to move. I gave up on everything that I had, and I had to go and move to Miami.
They won't allow this condominiums. They don't. Unfortunately, in Florida, they will not allow you to put any shutters because it changes the structure of the building. So they rather you die. They rather anything. You can't protect your family.
I don't know where to start. It's so much was happening. It was crazy.
How many toys are we talking about? I mean, can you put it on top of tables and stuff?
No, not in the plastic containers. I mean, we have inside my condo maybe 70, 80 containers or more. Plus all my G.I. Joe collectibles that I have that I've been bagging up in garbage bags. And I mean, that's been a mission on its own. You know, thanks God, like I say, thanks God I have my son. I've been blessed to have him, and he's like my right hand. And this is what we have to do.
When the window started breaking, I started taping it. Water from like the heavy rain and the wind started coming in. I even cut my hand from like the force of it, because like one of the windows cracked. I got wet. I'm speaking like a little deep. I'm sick from it.
What about your life?
My life, we're at risk, but there's always a passion behind everything. Some people have it, some people don't.
So you're going to board up and then take shelter somewhere else?
You got to excuse the mess, because like I say,
How many days have you been prepping for Irma?
3 days. 3 days.
Show me a room with the windows on it.
Yeah, come on.
You got a call from someone saying, "What are you guys doing? Get out of there."
Yeah, that was my girlfriend. Our area was marked as, danger, so it's evacuation zone. I suggested that, maybe we should go to her, her house, because her family and her were saying, we should go over there if anything. Dad was like, he's like, you're not gonna abandon me, right? I'm like, no, of course not. I wouldn't abandon my family. It was crazy.
Like I say, you gotta excuse the mess. It's not like this. It's an emergency situation. And right now I am desperate, and I feel like I'm a rat in a cage, in a corner, with nowhere to go. So I've been trying to do for the last 3 days as much as I can. I mean, this is on top of the freezer. This is all Sky Strikers, X1E1. And these are display cases that I have down here. Like I said, disclaimer, it's not always like this. It's just a situation that I'm in. I mean, if you want, come in here because there's not a lot of space. But look what I've got to do. Look at all the collectible toys that I have in here. Okay, that's it. That's behind the window. Okay, where I showed you guys earlier. Okay, this right here is all of this that you see here is behind the window. But this is just an example. Like I say, I've been scrambling, and it hasn't been easy. But I'm going to show you a little bit more what my house looks like before Irma. What I needed to do to prepare for this monster. Here, come on. These are the bird cages, and I have G.I. Joe. Okay, G.I. Joe's items up here. I have some of my hovercrafts up here. And as you can see, there's all G.I. Joe. These are Sky Commanders from 1989. Then over here, which I have a mess, which I have to clean up. This all over here, these are orders that I have to have out tomorrow. Because Thursday is the last day the U.S. Postal Service will be open. Friday, they will be completely closed. So I got to get all of these items out by tomorrow. Look right behind you here. This is more collectible toys. More collectible toys. This stuff that you have to throw over here.
I'm very open-minded. I support anything my father does. I support it. A lot of people don't understand it. Some people think, oh, it's crazy and all that, but it's not crazy. It's a passion. It's a love that you have for it. And when you have that passion, that love for it, it's all that matters.
Hey everyone, this is my son Irving. I've been working my love, the love of my life, my son, my right hand, my everything. I mean, he's the one that has helped me with the preparation.
It means everything to me. He's like my best friend. We have that father and son relationship. He's like a mentor. He's a father, best friend, and a mentor. I get the passion for the collectibles. I got it from him.
This is the room that I'm really freaking out over. Hopefully it will hold. So, you know, let's see what we can do. I mean, this is like my other little section of toys. As you can see, a lot of G.I. Joe vehicles. Right behind, you can see more. Got a whole bunch of hammers.
So is that a window?
That's a door right over here. That's my mom's room. But behind here is all window.
So what happened if a window crashed with the hurricane?
I don't even want to even think. I don't even want to go there. I would probably lose everything that you see here. Because everything it would come through here, it would have to, the wind has to have an escape, so it'll blow the windows there in the front. And then everything will start blowing out just like it did last night. Very scary. Very, very scary.
Wasn't gonna, leave my grandmother old by herself, my father. I know my girlfriend was fine, but my father's getting older, my grandma's getting older. I had to be the man of the house.
So, hi, I'm Gus Lopez. I'm a Star Wars collector. I'm going to give you a very quick walkthrough of our house and some of the things we got on display. So right here is the Death Star model from the first Star Wars film, Star Wars A New Hope. It's the original 3D model from the first movie. It's the only one they made for that movie. And it actually has thousands of tiny little pinholes, so when you put a light source behind it, it actually will illuminate it just as you did on screen in the film. So it's one of the first prop pieces I ever picked up and still remains the most significant one of all the ones that I've picked up. So we're gonna take you through the house. There's a whole bunch of stuff on display. This is a Yoda rehearsal puppet from Empire Strikes Back. It basically was the one that Mark Hamill and Frank Oz used to practice the movie lines. And it's a very Muppet looking Yoda, but it wasn't used on screen, but it was fairly well documented in a lot of behind the scenes footage and photos. It was actually a prominent thing that went into the making of The Empire Strikes Back. And then over here you have Darth Vader helmet from Empire Strikes Back. The helmet part's the original part, and the face mask there that's clear is there just for context. This is a Tusken Raider mask from the first Star Wars. Very heavy duty mask with like leather and aluminum parts, and it's sort of a big complex mask, and so just one of my favorite masks. And you'll see a couple other things over here is Boba Fett's backpack from Return of the Jedi. Used by stuntman Dickie Beer, who basically rolled into the Sarlacc pit when Boba Fett is sort of defeated at the Battle of the Sarlacc. And so really cool. I'm a big fan of Boba Fett, and so kind of awesome to have a piece from him. Here are various masks, different masks from Star Wars. Like this is a guy from the Cantina named Yamnose, and then there's a couple different Ewoks. So a few different and a few different kind of masks used, and most of them used in the movies. Some of them used kind of as early concepts. These are all different blaster rifles. For years, I would collect, like one or two. I get a rifle or a blaster, from someone, and then at one point I got the idea of like, let's do this like a whole arsenal, like make it like an armory of Star Wars blasters. And so many of these are very iconic to people who are familiar with Star Wars. But like this is a Tusken Raider rifle from the first movie.
In 1964, I remember walking into a Woolworth's Five and Dime and seeing a display of G.I. Joe.
It was like a mini Christmas. Every time seeing the Toys R Us logo or KB Toys.
I was just starting to get out of playing with toys, but I convinced my mother to buy me a G.I. Joe action soldier.
It would be one of the things that I would always be like, Mom, let's go to a toy store, let's go to a toy store.
And when I got an opportunity to work at Hasbro, it was like, wow, I'm going to work for the company that makes G.I. Joe. Unfortunately, when I started at Hasbro in 1978, they were no longer making G.I. Joe.
I knew exactly what to say. I knew exactly how to give the puppy dog eyes.
When I would go to Woolworth, I remember seeing Transformers, and He-Man was really big at that time. It was just everywhere on Woolworth.
Right, hey, Mom, it's been a week. Can we go to a toy store?
When we would go into a Toys R Us or a Play World, the racks were from the ground to almost the ceiling.
I would just stand back because I couldn't take it all in.
I was obviously smaller.
And try to just see everything and go, wow.
And looking up and going, how there's so many, I can't even look at the top one, what it is. It was so much.
Just the aisles and all the rows of these great toys, it was a thrill.
It was a surrounding world of just magical toys for me,
I would analyze the sets based on what pieces they had and sort of like what kind of big impact the pieces would have in terms of my collection.
It was so much fun, and you had to pick and choose. You couldn't afford them all, and I'm asking my mom, can I get this?
We would come up with all kinds of crazy ways of having kids part with their money.
Oh, the toy store is right there, Ma. Can we go and look?
On-pack promotions.
I dread the day that I get kids of my own because karma is gonna bite me in the ass.
We ran contests.
My mom entered me in a contest.
Which nobody does anymore, and it just boggles my mind.
And the prize for this contest was a college scholarship. And to enter the contest, you had to take a picture with your whole collection around you. Well, my mother was like, you're gonna win this. Your ponies are gonna pay for college.
Mail away figures. The only way you could get certain figures, couldn't get them at the store.
I want that, I want this, I want that.
I came in second in the contest, and I was sent a giant world map. So, no money, just a world map.
We use cross-sell brochures in all of our vehicle packaging.
I would do in my head in 2 weeks, I'm gonna try to get this one.
We put in every boxed package a catalog of what was gonna come out later in the year. It was like a Christmas wish book.
Christmas, I'm gonna ask for this, and just making my list.
Oh, I got a new Cobra Commander figure. I gotta go find all my other G.I. Joe figures that are in the bottom of the toy box to play with Cobra Commander. And, oh, Mom, we gotta go to Toys R Us because there's other G.I. Joe figures that I gotta buy now. So it was a constant flow of ideas and a constant way of getting kids back into the marketplace to play with G.I. Joe.
I mean, the 80s were great as far as toys are concerned. There's really, it was the golden age of toy.
I cannot thank you enough for bringing these toys, but you were taking my money.
That's right. Because you were paying my mortgage.
Who's Justice Curry? Well, Justice Curry was created many years ago for my toy persona, and my real name is Justin. I am in law enforcement. I'm a police officer. My goal with my YouTube channel was to have an archive of my journey into toy collecting, and I realized that I was starting to get some negative comments. People that were not collectors going, oh, are you gonna start collecting Barbies now? And why are you showing these kinds of things? And I went, you know what, I'm having this hobby to escape from, negativity and hate, and I'm enjoying this. And to avoid making my personal profile filled up with toys and this mounting, lack of a better term, addiction or venture of toy collecting, I'm gonna create another profile. Then I could be more open about it. And slowly I started realizing I'm morphing into toy, my hobby, my friends, the community that I'm growing into. So Justice Curry was Facebook, then Justice Curry was YouTube, and Justice Curry is me.
Who's here? Daddy?
Hey guys.
Can you go say hi to Daddy?
Hi.
Go get Daddy. Go give him hugs and kisses.
Hello. I got something special for you.
Come get this kid off the table. Why are you on the table?
Hi. Jay.
Look at our game here.
You're playing Jenga, hey babe.
Hi. Good.
I don't want to knock
Don't.
this over.
Not good.
Come on.
You back away
Baby.
slowly.
You want to see what I got? Look at this. Watch this. You know what happens when I put my finger on this? What's gonna happen? Ow! It got my finger. You want to try?
Eat Justin's fingers.
Yeah,
Eat
let's
Justin's
see.
fingers.
Let's see if BB can do it. Oh! It got your finger. Here, set a trap for me. And when I start digging into my own persona of who I am, Justice or Justin, I enjoy justice. I enjoy this hobby.
My finger back. How do I do it? Give me my finger back.
My online Facebook persona of selfies and YouTube and all that, that's not me interacting with my kids. So I'm Justin. Maybe that's a mask, or maybe that's an escape. That's a vacation switch in my mind to be Justice.
Oh my goodness, let me do it to you.
My kids are my world. Especially being that my wife couldn't have children. We got into the foster care program, so we had many different kids of all age ranges coming into our life, and nurturing and providing that stable home for them. And then we become a temporary placement, could be weeks, sometimes years. And then having to give some children back after years was one of the worst experiences of my life. But out of that became wonderful blessings. Foster children then turned into adopted children, which I have today. My daughter, my eldest, Brandy, I didn't realize that kind of joy being a parent could bring. She was one of our first foster children when, after going through the courts and going through all kinds of issues before we got to sign those papers saying we are legally your parents, it became one of the greatest pinnacles of my life. Yeah, this is Prince Adam. And I'm proud of her. I watch her grow and develop, playing with her and seeing what her interests are, and she's my everything. And Justin, coincidentally, we didn't make him a junior. That's the name he came to us with, which makes it all the more special. So we got him at days old. Because they always call you beforehand to see if you're willing to take a child, and they'll give you the age and the situation. My wife actually was like, she's like, there's a 3-day-old child. He's at the hospital. I told them we're gonna take him. And I was surprised. I'm like, you didn't consult me? She's like, no, I just feel it. You know, we have this little child, and within an hour, the agency's knocking at our door on a Friday night at 10 p.m. with this little 3-day-old baby. And seeing him, I mean, my heart melted. And I knew right away he was going to be ours to adopt, and my son. And then watching him grow and develop and seeing his interest in toys and running around and talking and seeing all these first moments. And they're both equally important in my book. And they always will be. They're my children. You know, I'll die for my children. I love my children like any parent would. And that love is strong, and that love will always remain strong. Yeah, drinking kind of started slowly at first, as like anything, you build up a tolerance and think it's fun because other people are doing it and going out to the bar, say, after stress with a new job and being away from family was to keep drinking and increase drinking, and I didn't think I had a problem. Yeah, I'm hungover, but I recuperate, and I was having fun and not looking back. And things happened to me where, you know, I fell off a cliff and I slipped off the side of a step, and I'm getting staples in my head and getting injured. And I specifically remember a doctor giving me a pamphlet for alcoholism, and I'm going, insulted. What are you talking? I'm not an alcoholic. And as time progressed, I realized like that was the way I handled stress. When I was sad, I drank. When I was happy, I drank. Everywhere in between, I drank. Slowly over those years, I realized, oh my goodness, I have a problem. So there came a time where in the morning, hungover, taking a shower, and I'm just self-reflecting, feeling horrible, the hangover, and I'm like, this is enough. I'm done. Having a family changed that tremendously. You know, having responsibilities, my kids, that even put more shame and guilt into the drinking, and realizing what am I doing? And I just didn't know how to stop. My wife, and she knew, she could see it with being frustrated with me, and that caused stress and tension in our relationship. Even my daughter specifically, remember her calling it Dada juice, pointing to a beer and saying, that's Dada juice. And it all came to an unexpected day. I didn't think I was going to quit that day. I was hungover, but through my faith with the Lord, I had a life-changing miracle. For whatever reason, in the toy aisle or walking past or a commercial seeing 25th anniversary G.I. Joes, oh my gosh, G.I. Joes. I remember I had an 86 Viper that was really one of my favorite figures growing up. And when it came in the mail, it was just transfixing. A new drug just started flowing in me of nostalgic, happy, euphoria sensation. I need more of this. Oh, wait till you see this. I've been waiting oh so very long. Every piece has a story, and I got a feeling I know which piece this is. My good friend from Argentina sent me his personal childhood Panther. That's awesome. That means all the more. That became my new hobby and time, and I wasn't watching TV when my kids go to bed, you know, hang out with my wife until she wanted to do what she wanted to do, and then it became all about going online and searching and hunting and reading resources. There was just a wide open world of toys that I never heard of, and then that became my new hunt. And I've been pedal to the metal for years, never looked back. Drinking and going down this endless black hole of destroying my body, destroying my mind, destroying my relationships, and not properly nurturing my children, but being hungover. It was poisoning my family, and it could have drastically went in a bad area if that life-changing moment didn't happen, where alcohol finally was gone and I was free from it. Hello, it is I, Justice Curry. Justice Curry needs an origin story, and I will tell you, it all happened many, many years ago with my dance and battle with alcohol. Yes, alcohol. Now there's going to be some getting real moments in this. It's not all going to be about toys and laughing and giggling, which there will be plenty of, but it's more about stories and community, reasons around collecting. But I couldn't do this without my very special guest, my therapist and my dearly beloved wife, Liz. How are you?
I'm entertained.
Entertained. Anyway, I wanted to address some very important things about my origin. Oh yes, I tried to quit many times. I'll quit.
Those were full of heartbreak for me too, because he'd say, "Okay, I'm not gonna drink anymore. I'm not gonna drink for 2 weeks," and then it'd last like a couple days, and then I'd be
Just
really
one
disappointed.
beer, just one Busch Light, just one Busch Light.
But it got to the point where hearing a can open, like the cracking sound of a can, like from the bedroom, I'd be in the bedroom and hearing him crack open a beer in the living room was just like.
So I recently found out that my coworkers in the law enforcement community found out about my YouTube channel. Now, I've always kept that a secret, where I was fearful that my coworkers and law enforcement peers would find this about me. And it happened several days ago. I was informed by one of my good friends that I started watching the videos and learning about my YouTube channel and teasing, making a mockery of it. People that I know now know about this aspect of me. So I don't know what's gonna happen when I face the music per se and see them face to face. Am I fearful that I'll retreat farther into my cocoon, or am I going to be loud and proud? We'll see where it leads.
When Justice sees this, Justice Curry, I just want you to know that I'm still working on your certificate of authenticity. I actually have a note on my desk to get it done, and I apologize for not getting it done. But I just heard your story, and I'm just totally impressed by you, the life you're leading, and the influence that G.I. Joe's had on you and others like you. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for serving us and serving this country the way you do. And like I say, it's mind-boggling to me, the impact that this toy line has had on people like you.
So last question, what do you think of the term plastic crack?
Well, the term plastic I need some water is what it is.
You want to take a break for water?
No. I'll get to this last question. That's why my things are getting stuttery because I need some water. It's okay. So the term plastic... See, I can't even say it.
Plastic crack.
Plastic crack. Plastic crack. Blah, blah, blah. There we go. So the term plastic crack...
You say crap.
Crack. So the... I always thought this was fake.
Man, I just had a lovely blooper for the credit roll.